If the doors of humanity are open in a law book, the punishment is given according to the crime committed by the individual. However, when the measure of punishment is arbitrary, even minor offenses can lead to punishments that cross all boundaries of humanity, closing all doors to compassion. Today, we are talking about some of the provisions for punishment in different parts of the world, determined by kings and emperors, the thought of which still gives chills. This video is intended for those who have the courage to listen to and endure the truth. Children, mentally fragile individuals, and those with weak hearts should think twice before watching. Watching this video with the intent to gain knowledge is fine, so consider it as an informative video only. Punishments by animals. In ancient times, in places like China, Africa, and India, kings used animals like rats and elephants to punish criminals. When the punishment orders were implemented, the kings found amusement in it. Many times, raising a voice against injustice was considered a crime. Iron chair torture. For criminals who committed crimes and managed to hide them, this chair was used for interrogation. It was a dangerous and brutal method. The iron chair was equipped with sharp brass spikes on the backrest, the seat, and the armrests. These spikes could vary in size. When a person was brought in for questioning, they would be seated on this chair, and a fire would be lit underneath. The spikes would heat up, slowly burning the person's body. They would be kept on the chair until they confessed. If proven innocent, they were released, but surviving the chair was almost impossible. The chair had anywhere between 500 and 1500 spikes. The bronze bull. Another horrifying method used in Greece involved a large bronze bull. The criminal would be placed inside this bull, and a fire would be lit underneath it. As the person inside burned, their screams would come out of the bull's mouth, but through a device that made them sound like music. To mask the smell of burning flesh, scented perfumes were sprayed. Ironically, the inventor of this bull, when he presented it to the king, was the first to be locked inside it. Rat torture. This method was introduced in 17th century Rome, particularly in Europe. The criminal would be tied to a bench, and a metal cage with a rat inside would be placed on their stomach. The cage would be heated from above, causing the rat to dig through the person's body to escape the heat. Milk and honey torture. This punishment was used in the Persian Empire in the 5th century. Criminals would be placed in a wooden structure with only their heads and limbs exposed. Their body would be smeared with a mixture of milk and honey, and they would also be force-fed the same. This attracted insects, rats, and other creatures that would slowly eat away at the person's body. This torture could last for weeks. Lingqi death by 1,000 cuts. Used in ancient China, this method involved cutting the criminal's body in several places over time. This punishment was carried out publicly, and the person's body would be mutilated slowly, often over the course of 3 days, until death. The criminal's body parts were sometimes sold as trophies. Execution by elephant. This method was used in South Asia, particularly in countries like Sri Lanka and India. Trained elephants would crush the criminal under their feet. This was used as a public spectacle, with elephants trained to prolong the suffering. This method was especially prominent during the Mughal era in India, from the time of Humayun to Jahangir's reign. Summary. Throughout history, there have been numerous ways in which people have been punished, often in the most brutal ways. While some of these methods may seem unbelievable today, they were real and widely practiced. Many of these punishments were designed not just to inflict pain but to serve as public spectacles to deter others. This content is informative and should be understood from a historical perspective.